Good evening, everybody. It's 5:30 and I will call the March 19th meeting of council to order. And I will take the liberty that I'm given to make some introductory remarks tonight related to tariffs, actually. I think I've had a few inquiries from the public, and perhaps, I'm not sure, I did put a mayor's desk article in the newspaper today, and perhaps some of you had a chance to read it. I think there's a fair bit of anxiety and angst about what's going on. And it looks like it'll continue for some time. So what can the municipality do is in a nutshell, and AMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, we believe are working on guidelines that will help us. I'm sure that they, like the provincial and federal governments, are also waiting on what the final not resolution, but the final numbers are, what's going to actually happen. In April 2nd, it seems to be a date that people are south of the border stuck to so far. So my thought is that for the April council meeting, we would ask staff, CAO through you, to bring a report on the status of if not the tariff situation, the recommendations, guidelines from province feds, AMO, FCM. Any suggestions as to what we can do, which might be related to procurement. There's been some talk about the flags, the American flags. My view is it's premature at this time to take the American flags down. I think I'd rather be pro-Canadian than anti-American at this time until we see where all the chips fall. But it's going to be interesting, and I think it will impact all of us and certainly the country in its own way. So, having said that, the municipality will do what we can to be part of the Canadian team, but we won't do it, let's say, quickly or reactively. We'll do it strategically and make it as effective as we can. And also, I think I recognize there's a feeling. I have a feeling, man, I want to push back a little bit. So I did, and I think everybody has a little bit of that. But I also want to make Canada stronger too. And it doesn't have to be necessary at the expense of somebody else. We should always be looking for that, and maybe we should have been doing that earlier than when the crisis comes. But here we are. So you good with that, CIO? That it doesn't have. I'm not asking for a lengthy report on tariffs or whatever, but it just the status update and what guidelines, recommendations, if there's anything to bring to council, and so the council can decide on procurement, flags, whatever it is that needs to be decided. Fair enough, council? Thank you. So I'll call the meeting to order. We now look for amendments to the agenda.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. Motion that the agenda for the regular council meeting of March 19th be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Bone, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. And declarations of pecuniary interest.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. We do have some minutes to adopt for the February 19th, 2025 regular council meeting, the February 19th, 2025 statutory public meeting, and the February 11th, 2025 special council meeting be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Ben Breda, seconded by Councillor Lego. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And a motion to receive minutes, the December 10th, 2024 Committee of Adjustment and Consent Granting Authority and the February 13th, 2025 Environment Committee meeting minutes be received. Moved by Councillor Bone, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And a motion to receive minutes of the November 29th, 2024 Northwestern Health Unit Board of Health meeting minutes be received. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. Item 7.1, TRC 2025 work plan and budget. Term for reference. Councillor Ben Breda. 7.2, Community Emergency Preparedness Grant. I can list some, I'm going to lift that just for a brief comment. Thank you. Ontario Regulation 284-09 Compliance Report. 7.4, 2024 Statement of Council Remuneration and Expenses. 7.5 Municipal Accommodation Tax Agreement with the Sioux Chamber of Commerce. Councillor Costa, thanks. And 7.6 Housekeeping Zoning Bylaw Amendment. Councillor Costco. So we have listed 7.1, 7.2, 7.5, and 7.6. And we will have an adoption of not requiring separate discussion of item 7.3, item 7.4. Moved by Councilor Van Breda, seconded by Councilor Lego. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Delegations. The first delegation is the Sioux Hudson Drinking Water Systems Annual Reports, and CIO, do you want to take the introduction? Thank you.
Certainly, thank you. Through you, Mayor Lawrence. As council is likely aware, as part of our drinking water, or the problems of drinking water legislation that we must follow. Part of that requires submission of formal reports annually on the Sioux urban and Hudson drinking water systems. We're very fortunate to have Jessica with us this evening, as well as Dan and Tyler from NWI and their parent company, to provide a brief overview of the reports and to answer any questions that members of council may have. So in saying all of that, I guess, Jessica, I'd like to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. I'll share my presentation here. Just give me a moment. I got 3 screens going, so sometimes it takes a minute. This is the one you need to see. All right. Everybody see that okay?
We can, thank you.
All right, so we're here to go over the annual reports, which summarize the operation of the drinking water system over the previous calendar year. They're developed, of course, in accordance with Section 11 and 22 of the Ontario Regulation 17003, which is under the Safe Drinking Water Act. I think this is the 3rd time I've met with your council, so you're pretty familiar with these reports. They encompass both Hudson and Sioux Lookout drinking water systems, and are intended to inform both the municipal council and the public on the operations of the systems over the past calendar year. So they include system expenses, water quality monitoring results, flow rates, any adverse water quality incidents, and any regulatory non-compliance. Also a way to enable council as owner to assess the functionalities of the systems and ensure that they meet the existing and planned water supply demands and have capabilities to operate within the parameters required by the regulations. Also important to note that these reports need to be made available to the public. So a copy on your website. I believe also in the past, copies have been made available at the municipal office in Sioux Lookout, Lost Lake Seniors Drop-In Center in Hudson as well. Anyway, so I'm going to go through each of the systems separately. We'll talk a little bit about Sioux Lookout and then move on to Hudson. So Section 2 of the report, I'm not sure if you have them in front of you, but there's a brief description of the system and the list of treatment chemicals used. In 2024, there's no significant changes to the treatment process. So I don't think there's anything to go over there. Section 2 also includes a list of major expenses required to install, repair, or replace required equipment and infrastructure. And section 4 talks about water production and includes a summary of the quantities and flow rates of the water supplied. Most importantly, there was just a slight decrease in the volumes of source water withdrawn and treated water supplied in 2024 compared to 2023. But the system flows have remained pretty stable over the previous decade, and the system continues to operate well within rated capacity, so no concerns there. Section 3 is where a lot of the meat of the report is. It just summarizes the results of water quality monitoring, which is the important part, I think, for everybody, the quality of the water coming out of those taps. Drinking water samples are routinely collected and tested for microbiological and chemical parameters. And in 2024, all microbiological and chemical results were below the associated drinking water quality standards for Ontario. Of course, microbiological quality is an important aspect because of waterborne diseases. Also important to note, there were no harmful algal blooms in 2024. So no concerns about microcystin in the drinking water. The standard for trihalomethanes and haloacetic acids is expressed as a running annual average. Now, these chemicals are a byproduct of chlorination. So it's something that you may have to deal with in any drinking water system that utilizes chlorination, and we're required to use chlorination in our systems. So the 2024 running annual averages for THMs and HEAs, though, were well below the Ontario drinking water quality standards, so no issues there. We did have, however, one AWQI in 2024, and this was actually because of a main break. A contractor hit the water main, causing a loss of pressure to the pressurized zone. The break was isolated, repaired, mains and pipes were flushed, so standard protocols were followed. Precautionary boil water was issued to the affected users, and samples that were required were taken August 21st and 22nd. There was no bacteria present, and the precautionary boil water was lifted on August 23rd. And there were no other issues within the Sioux Lookout system this year. In terms of regulatory compliance, I think we came through with flying colors. There was an inspection initiated in December, and the final inspection rating was 99.38%. There was one housekeeping or record keeping issue that was noted. That was a form that wasn't completed with respect to the new booster station that was constructed this year. So that this form is required by the ministry when there is a new generator installed. It is for contaminants discharging to air, and I understand that's being looked after by the municipality's engineer and will be submitted to the ministry before the end of this month. On to Hudson. Again, section 2 has a description of the system. No significant changes to the treatment process in Hudson. However, the drinking water license was amended so that CT can be provided with chlorine only if needed. You may recall from the report last year, our inspection percentage was a bit lower because of an incident that occurred at the Hudson system and where the UV failed. However, the chlorination did provide the required disinfection for the water, but the way that the license was written didn't allow us to account for that within our contact time calculation. So it's sort of a little bit of a trick the way that the license was. So we were not able to use that as a backup. and now we are. So we amended it so that CT can be provided with chlorine only if needed, should we have a failure of the UV system. Chlorine can be considered the primary disinfection system. So in section 2, there's also, again, a list of major expenses. Section 4 describes water production again, and similar to Sioux Lookout, there's a slight decrease in the volumes of water withdrawn and treated water supplied. But again, system flows are very stable, and we're operating well within rated capacity. In terms of water quality for Hudson, in 2024, again, all micro and chemical tests were well below the drinking water quality standards. And regulated operational parameters were all well within performance criteria. No concerns at all with the operation here in Hudson. No lead exceedances in 2024, no harmful algal blooms. Just one adverse water quality incident, and this occurred, we did clear well cleaning this year in both Sioux Lookout and Hudson. And when this happened in Hudson, during the process of recommissioning a clear well, about 3 cubic meters of superchlorinated water was directed to the distribution system. There was a power bump, and it transferred the pump duties, and the operators caught it very quickly. But and they switched to the correct pump again, and they went out and flushed the system, tested chlorine residuals throughout the distribution system. We did, of course, we were in touch with public health, but there were no customer complaints received. And by the next morning, everything was looking perfectly normal. So well within. Again, we had one ministry inspection in April of last year, so we should probably be expecting them in our area again soon. The inspection rating was 100%, no incidents of regulatory no compliance, and 0 recommended actions from the ministry. So we're doing quite well there. Pardon me. So we have a couple of recommendations as an operating authority for your systems. The 2024 reports demonstrate our oversight of Sioux Lookout and Hudson municipal water systems and our efforts to provide safe, reliable, sustainable supply of municipal drinking water. We're always looking to institute industry best management standards to ensure your water assets are maintained in optimal condition. So some recommended priorities for council to consider would be an engineering assessment for distribution renewal, could be lining of mains or replacement in Sioux Lookout. Also, something that's very much on the ministry's radar and we're starting to see in other municipal inspection reports is a recommendation for a distribution valve turning program. That means you're going out and you're making sure all the valves in your distribution system are working, and you're doing that on a set basis. An engineering assessment would also be very helpful. Dan can speak to this a little bit more, but for replacement or rebuild of the high lift pumps at the Sioux Lookout water treatment plant. This would be to accommodate future flows and also allow potentially for you to be able to isolate the water tower for maintenance. I think we spoke last year also, sorry, I should finish this up, about the Sioux Lookout water tower upgrades. Would be great to know where you're at with that. And we would definitely always welcome participation in town planning for water main rehabilitation and renewal projects. I think we can work better on our communication back and forth with respect to those projects going forward. These are just, I always provide these additional resources. It's helpful to know where all of these requirements are coming from. So for your light reading tonight, if you want to check out some of the regulations that we're trying to ensure that your systems are meeting. And thank you again. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I believe Dan is also in the room to help answer any questions you have about these reports.
Thank you. Go ahead, CEO.
Team Netherlands, thank you. Thanks so much, Jessica, for a great presentation. Just very briefly, I wanted to acknowledge the very effective and positive working relationship that we share within WI. Dan does a great job of keeping me informed of anything that's out of the norm. Dan has also done a great job of discussing sort of some of the items that were summarized with respect to recommendations, and so we are actively working on many of those. And you know, I just want to again express my thanks to Jessica, Dan, Tyler, and the entire team at NWI. They really do provide great service for our community, and as the reports suggest, they are certainly doing their job very well. So I just wanted to acknowledge their hard work and their contributions, and to pass along my thanks for that. And with respect to the standpipe, we're actually just underway on a new process to do a full assessment of what the needs are, and we absolutely will be involving NWI as we get to the tender stage, and once the tender is awarded for some additional engineering investigation discussions, we'll be bringing you in for sure for those conversations. So.
Thanks, CEO. Council, questions? You know, there's many reports we go through, and I say this every year. There's many things we do. We can make a lot of mistakes, but this is the only one we can go to jail for. This is the water quality.
Thank you.
I think it speaks to the quality of the service and the good report. I have a couple of small questions. I noticed on the water flows that September was considerably higher. Is that related to flushing, or was that a water break?
In Sioux, or
I think both actually had high Septembers.
probably for flushing, we did them. We usually do them around September. Sometimes it goes up a bit more than normal, but Hudson has fluctuations in the flows a lot in the winter time. Something that needs to be addressed at some point. As we know, Hudson isn't metered at all, and people have bleeders in their houses, and they crank these bleeders wide open, and we're running around looking for water main breaks in the wintertime that we can't find, but they're actually in people's houses, and the water's going right through into their septic fields. Sometimes we'll find it in a ditch somewhere, but it should actually in the future sometime, maybe possibly all of the houses being metered, or if we know of people that have bleeders, it is your you can go into somebody's house to see how their water comes into their house and where it is. And if you decide to put a meter in there, you can put a meter in there. But anyways, that's one of the biggest things we have in the wintertime in Hudson is the flows fluctuating, and people get a break inside their house and they just leave it, or they turn the bathtub on because they think they're going to freeze. So there is quite a bit of that in Hudson. Sioux, like Jessica said, is pretty stable year round, year to year. Doesn't change very much since the last time we did a assessment of the system to see a leak detection assessment. We found a few leaks that dropped it down like almost probably 1,000 cubic meters or so per day. So that added up to
the municipality grows. Some of the growth is outside the piped water system, but there is growth in the urban municipality, and yet the consumption remains stable. So addressing leaks has been key to.
Yeah, and you know, we usually like the monthly report that we send to the municipality once every month. It shows the flows for that month. You know, we can see from month to month if it's gone up. So but it's been pretty stable in Sioux Lookout, that's for sure.
Very good. So I appreciated the four recommendations. One of my questions was what do you see as any significant risks to our system that aren't being addressed? And I do note the assessment of the water system, looking at Calgary, Montreal, and other places that, I mean, obviously much bigger pressures and more flow, but what's our risk level here?
Well, I mean, one of them is the standpipe situation right now. The standpipe can't be isolated because there's valving that needs to be done. There is high lift pumps at the Sioux Lookout water treatment plant. Even if we could isolate the water tower, the water treatment plant was not designed to run the town out of the water treatment plant. The clear wells are too low. You've only got about 500 cubic meters in there. And if you had a fire while the standpipe was empty, you'd run out of water. The other thing would be the condition of the cast iron pipes in the town with the running off of the water treatment plant. It's never been done, so we don't know. But I would say that you'd have dirty water all through town because the water would be moving in different directions, especially if someone had to open a hydrant or something like that. So it is good that we're looking at the water tower right now. The other thing would be the distribution system itself. Like the recommendation said, relining or changing out of piping in the system. The way that the trunk main runs down this street right here, all the streets are joined into it. It's not like a normal system. So it's harder to deal with. So if we can get some of the lines leaving the trunk main, new fresh lines, we'd get new fresh chlorine going into those areas, which would help out for the whole back end of the system. The other thing that I see is that with the high school moving from the tower pressurized side of town to the booster station pressurized side of town, now this side of town has lost a lot of water that they were using with 500 students in there. So we've been getting some complaints and some lower residuals on this side because that's got to have something to do with it, you know, during those months that it's not there. So that's, yeah.
So does the high lift pump come first, or
Well, the high lift pump is one thing that we're looking at with the high lift pump is that right now at 43 liters a second, I think is what we're running. We're running two pumps on variable frequency drives to get that flow, because one pump will only give you about 25 to 27 liters a second. So in the future, if you're going to want to run off of the water plant, or if you have to because of that, are these pumps you'd have to run two, but will they keep up with the flow? Would be the other thing. That was my main concern, and I think it's also because in the infrastructure assessment that we look at, the age of the pumps is getting to a point where they need to be either rebuilt or repaired. So I'm saying, do we need to do that now, or do you guys want to upgrade the pumps to something that the flows that you're looking at in the future?
Sure, we'll be looking for staff for recommendations. We won't be making those decisions until we have more information. But my question, I guess the standpipe then will have to remain in service unless the high lift pumps are done first. Remain in service until such time as they need.
Yeah. So
function? Is that?
So the way that when we had Great Terrio do the assessment of the water tower last time, it was known that that it couldn't be shut down. So in their proposal, I believe, if you look at their proposal, it says that they would have to build the new standpipe, then fill it, and then switch it over. You know, at that point, you know, possibly you could look at, is that the old one, you know, are we able to just go back and forth to them? Probably not, but, you know, it could be something that you look at. The other thing that the council could think about too is that is a water tower what we really want? Like, it is the nicest thing to have for sure, but a lot of towns in Hudson, for instance, runs without a water tower. It just runs on distribution pumps where you would need a larger capacity clear wells. But that is another option to go to if council decides that, right?
Okay, Sioux.
A few minutes, yeah, so part of the process we're involved in right now with respect to the standpipe is to sort of we need to take a step back to evaluate all of these types of considerations. Whether full replacement is required, whether there are different options, locations. We had talked about potentially a temporary standpipe for the construction phase. There's a lot of we're in the very early stage right now, and an RFP has been issued and is due to close in a couple of weeks, seeking engineering firms to help with some of this more detailed analysis. And so we look forward to getting to moving that forward with respect to its importance in the overall system.
Thanks, Sioux. Council, anything further?
I'd just like to add one more thing. I think that we need to meet more with the municipality on these type of issues more often, maybe a scheduled quarterly or semi-annual meeting to review the budget, but budget proposals in the fall towards the end of the year before the budget comes out. And to discuss these kind of things as they come up, or like we used to do it in the past, but I know that the municipalities had lots of changing of the guards, let's say, and so it hasn't been being done the way that it used to be done, and I'd like to see it meet more often with myself or Tyler, and on issues with the distribution system and stuff like that. Also, the booster station deal. That's an ideal thing where we weren't involved very much, but we should have been, because the type of equipment that you used in there isn't like anything that we use anywhere else, and it should have been, right?
So that would be meetings between staff,
Yes.
staff and yourself.
Yeah.
I'll leave that with the CEO to act on. And just to close off, thank you very much, Jessica, Dan, and Tyler. I do know 2 adverse water quality incidents, which is remarkably low. Last year, I think it was 0. So you've increased phenomenally, but it's one. It speaks to a well-managed system, I think.
Yeah, and Tyler and the guys, they do a good job running the daily operations of the plants, and that's mostly where that compliance comes from. So
Yeah, and the adverse incident in Sioux wasn't at all staff or equipment related. It was outside forces.
yeah, it was.
Well done, and thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan, Tyler. All right, so we do have, I'll just give a moment to. We have a second delegation tonight, and if you'd like to step up, it's the Sioux Library, CIO. Would you like to do the introduction?
Few members, thank you very much. Very pleased to welcome Nicole Rogers, who is the current CEO of the Sioux Public Library. The presentation is in your package, but it's always nice to have a hard copy to follow along with. And Nicole has been very accommodating in that regard. Thank you so much. We have been very fortunate to maintain a great, positive, and meaningful working relationship with the library. It's been a pleasure, certainly for me to work with the board and with Nicole on a number of issues on an ongoing basis. We'll be in touch later this week. I have some more good news with respect to the lottery front on things. So I was able to get some additional information on that. So that's all good news. So I won't steal any of your thunder, but thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. It's going to be a quick presentation. Just very short, not too long, and a lot of graphics and such versus because every year we do an annual survey, which is like the very in-depth one that we're required to do in order to get our grant from the province. So this kind of just condenses it because you're more than welcome to look at that one, but it takes quite a bit to get through. Every library does it, so this is kind of just the highlights for you. So pretty well, I'll just get right into it. The front pretty well is just saying what we're doing. So we did a lot of programming that was very successful. And we also gained a lot of new memberships, which you'll see on page 2. So pretty well by the numbers. And these percentages represent the increase compared to 2023. So at the end. So patrons visiting the library went up 5% from the previous year. It was 26,869 people came through our doors, whether that was for programming, to check out books, or just to hang out there, sit in. That's it. So total circulation figures. So this was for print and digital. So this would be people coming in and checking out a book, renewing a book, and also ebooks and audiobooks, which a lot of people love to use on their Libby. And that was an increase of 46%. So we saw quite a huge leap on that, a lot of it digital. So a lot more people are using the audiobooks and the ebooks. And also the e-magazines. A lot of people don't know we have that. So and for programs offered, we had 307 we managed, which I thought was pretty impressive. So we were able to offer 30% more from last year. The previous year, sorry. And of those programs, 7,366 people came, which was an increase of over 100%. So it was 132% more than 2023. So new acquisitions, so this would be any new books or ebooks or anything like that, magazines such as that, DVDs, and that was an increase of 18%. So mostly the budget stayed the same, but we were actually able, through some just shopping around the different like the different providers, just to get better deals so we could get more for people to enjoy. And new memberships went up 34%. So we had 242, which is quite good. Some people were just coming back because we do purge our systems every so often, if you're inactive for too long. So some people came back, but a lot were new to the community, which was wonderful to see them come in and get a library card. And that led to our active memberships. So this is pretty well someone's actually using the card. And that was 978, which was a 7% increase. But a thing to keep in mind is this is not catching all the people that are coming in just for programming. They don't necessarily have a card. Say that children, a lot of parents will get their children cards, but there's also many who do not. So that coming in to use computers, someone coming into town just needs some Wi-Fi if they're getting off the train or something, stuff like that. It's not captured with the actives. And then we saw computer use, so 10% increase. So that would be people just checking their email, printing things out, anything like that. So we were very impressed. We had an increase in all the stuff that we kind of look at, which was great. And then on the next page, we just did a basic financial overview. So just the operating. So we kind of just broke it down kind of friendly for people. So thank you very much. You guys provided about 91% of our revenue, which was wonderful. And then grants was the 5%. So that would have been summer student grants, the public library operating grant, pay equity. And then 4% we made ourselves. So that was either through fundraising, services provided, such as photocopying, faxing, anything like that. So that was our revenue. And expenses. People are always surprised by this, and I don't know why, but salaries and benefits is actually for public libraries the #1 cost, like most places. So that was 79.8%. And library materials, so this is where that acquisition comes in, was 5.5%. So we were able to get that 1,900 books on quite a limited budget in a way. Supplies and services, so that would be our photocopier rental and stuff like that. Supplies for that, printer ink, paper, all that kind of things. Building and utilities was 6.6%, and that would be like hydro, water, any building maintenance, just like the rugs and stuff, we all included in that. And then last year, we were actually able to purchase some new equipment and furniture because we had some funds. So we purchased the new library or the new children's area was that. And we also got a brand new 3D printer that everyone's really enjoying. So that was the last 2.2%. And I saw a lot of other libraries were doing this, so I figured why not give it a shot? So these were our most popular new items. Kind of surprises some people. So Consumer Report was the most popular magazine, so people are still reading them in print, so we still get them in. The adult book was The Women by Kristen Hanna. Large print was The Lost Book of Bon, and that was in large print, so we've been trying to increase because we've seen more and more people requesting large print, so we have been trying to meet the needs of the public in that way. Graphic novel, the kids are loving them right now, so it was The Wings of Fire, the newest one that we had. And then, don't know if any of you have kids that love this one, it's the Willems for the juvenile, the Piggy and Biggie.
It's on my house right now.
Yeah, there you go. Who knew, right? And these were ones we just got in 2024, so I didn't include ones that were these were ones that were added to our collection within that year. And this one surprised a lot of people because I showed my stuff and they were like, really? For the most popular authors. Agatha Christie went out the most because we got a bunch of new ones and everyone was checking them out. So who knew, right? Like, and then the juvenile was the Jordan Quinn. So that's the Kingdom of Renly and the Dragons, which was every kid wanted it and they had a bunch of holds on them. So. And then we're very visual people at the library. So we included 2 pages of just pictures with little captions, kind of just to show the wide variety of programming we're providing. So Nerf Wars, Glass Art. So we've been trying to get some artists to come in and she's actually going to be doing another one with us later. So keep your eye out. The MMIWG display also. We just recently had our superhero party for this year last week and got tons of kids in. We also had our 35th anniversary of being in that building. So don't know who was around. Well, I know the mayor was because his name was on some of the documents from the building plans and such. So that was cool. But that was our 35th of being in that building. A lot of people forget that it kind of jumped around a bunch of buildings. So it was cool to kind of discover all that. Yeah, that's a lot of these we're still doing. We've saw a great turnout, like Puzzle Wars. We are on now, I think 4 and 5, and people are getting competitive. So I know a couple of the staff members in the municipality have done it, and everyone always has a lot of fun. Yeah. And then last 2 things before I'm done, like I said, short, right? So we did lose Wendy McDonald last year, so we just put a little in memoriam because she was there when I was there. It was my first job. So when I was 13, she was the boss. And so it's just, we did a little write-up just saying how much her passion influenced the library and her dedication throughout the years, as I'm sure anyone who knew her. We just had a little quote there for her. And then we just shouted a thank you to our board, which includes Councillor Timpson, as well as the many others that play a valuable role in making the library what it is.
Thank you very much, Nicole. A delightful change of pace from adverse drinking water.
I try.
Council Timpson.
Yes. I'm going to make sure that council is about the memorial that we're doing for.
Oh, yes. So we've just decided on a date and I will be doing the advertising kind of just to get the word out, but it will be on April 12th. We're just having, so that on the Saturday, we're just gonna have kind of like a tribute to Wendy, so people can come share their stories. We're also gonna be doing a plaque and such, so we will be putting out a post, like pretty well displaying and letting people know that it's gonna be there, so. Yeah,
April 12th, is it?
April 12th, yes. I can definitely send one to Brian and then he can disperse if that works.
Councilor Levitt.
Is there a cost associated with memberships?
No, so that is included as part of the, if they're part of the municipality, the only time we'll charge is if they're not able to prove residence.
Mhm.
So as long as they pay taxes. So even the summer people that come are entitled as long as they have the paper proving that they pay their tax.
Now, has the board ever considered making that optional? I'm sure some people wouldn't mind paying a small fee for a membership.
Don't know.
I believe it's actually required to be free.
The library, I think the public library Act probably
Yes,
requires.
I believe, I can't remember.
CIO, are you familiar with that?
Not specifically, aware of the requirements of the act in that regard. So afraid I can't be too much help, but I do believe that because it is, I suppose you can think of it in some ways as the recreation center, where if you want to attend specific programming, then pay to play, if you will, to use one of their terms. But general access to the facility doesn't require, an entry fee kind of thing, which is, that's the analogy.
The idea being, since most of our funding's from the municipality, and as long as they're paying the tax, it's ones where we have the outside, like Lac Seul First Nation has an agreement with us. They, in order to get free memberships, pay a fee.
So if it's free, then do you accept donations as well?
We do, so a lot of people, people just come in sometimes and donate, or if, say, there's in memory of someone. Also, we get a lot of fundraising. So, big ones are like the plant sale. We just had the Freedom to Read week, so we had people free a book and it's put in our sanctuary collection, which means we never get rid of it. If it gets damaged, we replace it. So they pay $10 to kind of ensure that book's not going anywhere. We're constantly looking for new ideas of how to raise money. And we have a committee, actually, we're gonna have a meeting before the end of the month about that, so.
Perfect, thank you.
So I saw some other, Councilor Valgrita and then Councilor Chesson.
How do you count the people visiting the library? Is it automatic or is just?
So we have a digital counter that every night we just clear it out and then we just keep track.
Okay.
Chesson.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, CAO touched on it a bit too, like similar to the rec center model where anyone can walk in, but the programming, there's a slight charge, like I've been to a couple of the programming stuff. It's great. I know Nancy does a fantastic job. If there was a jar or something, I would throw $2 in to go do that programming. And if that's something that you look at, you guys do fabulous programming, those are great. If $2 a visit to go do the programming, you guys have 7,000 people through the programming, there's 14 grand in your pocket.
Mhm.
I don't think it's something that you want to like
Yeah,
go hard at right away. It potentially like a donation for the programming to like be put out or promoted a bit.
we have done that in previous ones, say like the Henna and Garba night, we did have like a donation
Yeah.
box out so people could donate. Mostly to try and promote equal access, we try to make as much of the programming free as possible. And if it's not free, we try to keep it at a reasonable cost. So if we're, say, I think something like the glass art where we had to get special materials, we try and charge between that and the staff time to try and just offset it. But the idea being it's equal access to the same, so.
And we did discuss that at one time on the board, might have been before your time, and I think we felt that donations would probably get more. We, have a jar there that people donate.
Yeah, and we always have one at the front desk, so we could try and make it a little more prominent, but we do have that one, and we also have little ones by, there's a very generous library patron that does up little bookmarks for us and such like that. But we also have another one that just says donations on it, and people drop in what they can. A lot of people too, if they come and get, say, photocopies, they pay with a 10, it was only like $5. They just tell you to keep it. So, yeah. But we're always looking for new ideas of how to make more money and kind of increase our impact. Sorry.
That's all right. No worries. Anything further, Council? I think on I do, to say, believe, my memory is that I've read that access to libraries is free. You can't charge, and right, I firmly support that. But I also think that we need to look at the different ways to raise revenue. And I do believe that there are people in the community who, I think about, and make small contributions to, on a monthly basis, to a few charities and I believe that there are people in the community who would make a monthly contribution to the library. People who have the wherewithal and would $20 a month or whatever it is on a regular, sort of auto deduct basis. And I think there's lots of avenues I think the library could look at it to raise revenue. We're not talking about $100,000, I don't think, but I mean, I look at your acquisitions and doing the math, it looks like you spent $19,000 on new acquisitions, $10 per acquisition. People might want to look, I'll buy new acquisitions, $50. That's the kind of thing where they see a tangible something they're doing.
And a lot of people do it. We have certain events that we actually do. Some do it in memory. So when Wendy was one, some people, for books that they thought she'd like, they'd donate the cost of the book. We also have I believe it's in the summer, we usually do it where you pretty well purchase the book for the library. So you adopt a book is what we call it. And all we do is we just put a little plaque, like a little sticker inside saying who donated it, like the money. And it's a really good way because pretty well then we put that in to get even more books. So
you track the most popular items is great. And you didn't know popular ebooks or e-magazines. Can you track that as well?
Not as well. The numbers are great. It's harder with the way the reporting works because it's Overdrive is the company. So the number's great. It's a little more finicky. I can reach out to them though. Maybe there's just something I didn't learn and because I can do the basic reports, but maybe there's something they can help us with on seeing that. Because I would be interested. I tried, but because I was interested as well, just to see which ones would circulate the most.
Very good. Councilor Costa.
One of the other good fundraisers is at Christmas time to have a campaign where people can, as a gift, donate, and then you send a card to that person saying this was their Christmas gift. I know my sister does that as gifts every year, and people do appreciate that, especially in a world where people have too much stuff, right?
That actually is a wonderful idea because I know a lot of we get them say some of my family ALS or something, they donate to that and then they put a light on the tree or something like that. So maybe we can look definitely into something like that, and that's easy enough to do, I think. We also, I know you mentioned kind of doing the monthly thing. We actually do have a Canada Helps fundraising so they would probably be able to set up. So maybe if we advertise that more, just then it could be a recurring payment like people would do with others where it just automatically.
Very good. Well, we better not turn this into a fundraiser. You're going to have one in the coming weeks, you said. So
Yeah.
if you invite council to that, just invite 3, okay?
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for plants, that's coming up.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much for allowing me the time.
Good job. Well done for the community. You can see the community is very engaged with the library. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Lewis,
You may, please.
In our collective excitement to hear the library's presentation, we neglected to pass the motion regarding receipt of the drinking water system reports. So if we could do that before we get into the other reports, that would be great.
The council adopts the compliance report. No, that's the wrong one. It's right in the delegations. Yes.
To my colleagues,
Yeah,
yes. So
the council receives the 2024 annual report as per schedule 22 of Ontario Regulation OREG 170-03, drinking water systems for the Hudson Drinking Water System and the Sioux Urban Drinking Water System. The annual reports prepared by Northern Waterworks. I don't think I need to put that into the resolution, do I?
It does actually.
Okay. Oh, are presented to Mayor Douglas Lawrence, council members, and CAO Brian McKinnon. I guess that's how particular the water
legislation is, yes.
legislation is. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we don't need a resolution for the library delegation. All right, council, we're into staff reports, 7.1. We have a resolution that council approves the 2025 work plan and budget. Sorry. Yes, that council adopts the following land acknowledgement to be offered to individuals who are recognizing the traditional lands of the indigenous peoples of our region when they do not have a land acknowledgement of their own to use. We acknowledge we are on the traditional territory of the Latzo First Nation within Treaty 3, and that many of the people and communities that we serve in Sioux, traditionally known as One and Nine Gang, meaning Bay of Sandy Beaches, come from Treaties 5 and 9, and that this land acknowledgement be made available for use at municipal meetings, events, and public gatherings where a land acknowledgement is appropriate, and further, that council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 15-25, being a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for the Sioux Truth and Reconciliation Committee and rescind bylaws numbers 106-15, 51-18, and 01-19. Moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Costco, and CAO. You have it?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lawrence, just very quickly, before council discusses the matter, I just wanted to point out that in the bylaw, in section 2.1, we do have a slight typo there. It's a carryover from the original terms of reference from 2015, when the committee was at that time appointed by the mayor. That language is still in there. We will change that to appointed by council before we send the bylaw around for signature. So my apologies for that oversight.
All right, thanks, CAO. And first on this is Councillor Van Breda.
Just a quick comment. I just want to give a big thank you to Florence Sanderson and Darlene Atronep, who helped us create this land acknowledgement, and also just saying that we agreed on the TRC committee meeting yesterday that this would not be mandated. This is, you know, like a default. If you have one that comes from the heart that you want to say, you're more than welcome to. That this is just one that you could use if you don't have one. And also, I do have a voice recording of Florence saying "one any one gone." That's a better way of saying it than, you know, I would have said it. So that's also available too.
Yeah, I'm sure better than I said it. I always got Darlene or Chief Bull to say that again, and it comes out a little bit different. They both say there's people who can say it better than they can. So, yeah, it's worth trying. And you know, I meant to, and I don't always say the land acknowledgement because I think it gets, if it's mandated, it just becomes pattern routine as me. I try to say it at meetings where I think this is appropriate, and I actually thought tonight was appropriate because of this resolution. And I had the land acknowledgement I say is similar to this. I will certainly there's some additional things in here that your tongue has to trip over a little bit. But just sorry, yeah. So. Good work. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, just a suggestion for on the terms of reference, 2.7, you know, given that one of your mandates is policy change that would adapt to First Nations reality. You said that it should adhere to the procedure bylaw of the municipality, and I know there was lots of flexibility in the committees, but I wonder if that should be stated here, that how the meetings would be conducted would be in recognition of a mixed First Nations and European cultures. That the procedure bylaw not be followed exactly as it's said. I don't know whether the procedure bylaw at this point is flexible enough for that.
So maybe the CAO clerk could comment on that.
Through Mayor Lawrence, in the absence of the procedure bylaw, we would need to find some other type of legislative authority that the committee would follow, maybe Robert's Rules of Order, which I would suggest would be more complicated and cumbersome than our current procedure bylaw is. If the committee is struggling with the format of meetings, and if there are concerns from the membership with respect to how meetings are being conducted, with respect to the requirements of, having to pass a motion to make certain decisions and so on and so forth. If that is problematic, I would welcome the opportunity to speak with the committee and discuss possible ways around that, if that is indeed an issue. I'll just leave it at that for now.
Very good. I'll leave it for the committee council members to reach out to the CAO or through your committee if that's what you. Go ahead, Council.
I think I did meet with Brian regarding this, because at the beginning we were sort of struggling to be able to accomplish things, and we sort of felt there were barriers. And Brian had some very good suggestions, like we started doing working committees. So then the working committees were able to do the brunt of the work and then report back. So we have several working committees, and also one of our big events that we want to do this year is the Truth and Reconciliation Gala. And we will be partnering with an organization in town who hopefully will be the lead, and we will be the support and do the work through a community committee. So we've sort of, managed to find some other ways to move forward, and we've done more work this year than we've done in the past. We've spent most of our budget, and we've set some goals, and we've got some big ideas this year. So hopefully we'll just be able to move forward.
Good. Anything further, Council? All right, then we put the motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. So all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 21-25, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario, as represented by Emergency Preparedness and Programs Branch of Emergency Management Ontario through the Treasury Board Secretariat. Moved by.
Procedural question. Did we pass the work plan?
Yes.
So that was part, it was the whole thing, okay, even though we just discussed the others.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure, sorry.
Moved by Councillor Costo then, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Thank you, and I raised this only to say this is the sandbagging equipment, that $50,000 grant. And the flood mitigation study that we did is you can deduct the $50,000 from the flood mitigation study, because that's what really enabled us to, and there will be other benefits of doing that work other than the knowledge and the data that it gave us. So I would thank staff for applying for that grant and achieving that. That's great news. And the study isn't something that sits on a shelf and collects dust. It is useful. That's all I had to say. Thank you very much, Council. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 7.5 municipal accommodation tax. The council authorizes passing a bylaw number 22-25, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute the municipal accommodation tax agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and the Sioux Chamber of Commerce, and to rescind bylaw number 62-21. Moved by Councilor Van Breda, seconded by Councilor Timpson. Thank you. And discussion starting with Councilor Thompson. Sorry, I was joking because I think Councilor Timpson reached to scratch here. I'm sorry.
I know that this doesn't include the increase to the accommodation tax, which we've had some discussion about. So how does that play in, and when will that come into play?
Gee, Mayor Lawrence, it would be if that is the will of council, the staff would be very open to taking direction from council this evening on bringing forward a report at a subsequent meeting to look at increasing the actual tax rate. One of the reasons in this version of the agreement, the prior version of the agreement actually referred to what the actual tax rate was. In this version of the agreement, we just refer to it as the tax, so that council has some flexibility if it wishes to alter what that rate is, 4.5, 5, whatever the case may be. So if that's council's if it's the will of council for staff to bring a report in the next couple of months, we can certainly bring that forward with some recommendations and a new, essentially what that would be is we would just repeal the old municipal accommodation tax bylaw and pass a new one with the updated rate, whatever it may be.
Okay, so are you asking if that's the will of council? Is that the will of council? And I just don't want to have out there the assumption that it's going from 4 to 5. It could be 2.5, it could be 5.5, it could be whatever. It's a report from council, bring a review of the tax rate and I suppose implications, recommendations. Just a straw poll, council, would you like to have a report on that? I see 1 affirmative, 2 affirmative, 3, 4. Yes.
Very good, thank you.
So now we put the motion on the floor, all in favor of the municipal accommodation tax agreement being amended. Favor? Carried, thank you. And housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment, that council receives the planning report dated March 19th, 2025. Respecting zoning bylaw amendment number Z01-2025, and further, the council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 11-25, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 85-18, being a bylaw to adopt a comprehensive zoning bylaw for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux as amended by adopting zoning bylaw amendment number Z01-2025. Moved by Councillor Costco, seconded by Councillor Lego. Discussion starting with Councillor Costco.
I have 2 concerns separate because there's multiple items on it. So I was in discussion with someone who's representing the South Falls and the sale of the property. And the concern was, and I tried to find it in there, couldn't find it, where they donated the land to the road for the municipality, and therefore the back piece now shrunk in size because it was 1 lot, and it's not compliant with the 2-acre size. So they just want to make sure that the lot is registered as legal non-compliant so that they are not required to get a minor variance at any time. So is that in there? Is that taken care of?
Through Mayor Lawrence. So when you look at Schedule D attached to the bylaw 11-25, this property that Councillor Costco is talking about is proposed to be rezoned from the residential shoreline to rural residential zone, and that means it would have a legal non-compliant status, and they would not be required to go through a minor variance application or a zoning bylaw amendment application process.
So the rezoning of it right now from residential shoreline to rural residential takes into the account that it's smaller than the required size?
Through Mayor Lawrence, that's correct.
Okay, so they'll never have to come to council, they'll never have an issue with it, it's ready to sell.
Through Mayor Lawrence, that's correct.
Okay, so then my second question is about the water access on Forest Drive. When we did that, I asked the question if the lots on the north leg were exempted and the ones that don't have water, and we were told they were. So that would be lot 1, lot 5, lot 9, and lot 15. So, and now lot 15 is asking for some housekeeping. So they have no water down there, like the water lake didn't go on that lake. And then same with Birch Avenue, it went straight, so it didn't go down Birch Avenue on lot 7 and lot 16. So are all of those exempted from the new zoning? So there's 6 lots that have no water access.
Through Mayor Lawrence. So when you look at Schedule B attached to the bylaw, most all of the properties along Forest Drive, along Pelican Lake, have access to municipal water and sewage. That was the condition to select these properties to rezone them. So we made sure that all these properties have direct access to municipal services.
But there's 6 lots that don't, like Forest Drive goes around and then there's a little leg that goes off. And the people who are on the leg, they have no water. The water did not go down there. So there's 6 lots on there that don't have access and you've rezoned the whole thing. So, and one person obviously is complaining on 15, but it's lot 1, lot 5, lot 9, lot 15, and then Birch Avenue, lot 7 and lot 16. They do not have water access. The water did not go in that area. It goes off of the regular Forest Drive and the water does not go there. So we can't be rezoning them and saying that they have to comply with the rules, that they have to hook up to the water that doesn't exist. Right?
It's for a bit of detail.
Yeah.
Was the planning coordinator aware of this before the
Well,
meeting?
I asked it at the last meeting when we passed the bylaw. I mentioned that there was a leg that had no water access in the other side street.
Okay.
And I asked if
Vaguely
they,
remember, yeah.
and they said yes, that they would be exempted. If they don't have the water access, they're being removed. And I left it at that, but then I noticed that lot number 15 now wants to be removed, but then there's still the other 5 lots that have no water. The water just goes down the main road and out.
Understood, yeah.
Yeah, so the other people, it's over 400 feet to hook up.
Gotcha.
So who would pay for that? Would these residents be forced to pay for that? Would the municipality be forced to pay for it if someone wanted to hook up? Like, if you change the zoning, you're committing us to a cost, someone to a cost.
Through Lawrence, so when you look at the map, it's only the highlighted properties that are subject to the rezoning. The properties along Birch Avenue and Pine Avenue are not subject to the rezoning. And we looked at the water servicing map to select these properties. So we made sure that all these properties have access to municipal services. So the property that you mentioned, which is 15 Forest Drive, just as you raised the concern, we noticed that, it's a bit far from where the service lines run, and that's why we took it out.
Okay, because they're on that leg.
Yeah,
Yes, so everyone on that leg, the north leg, have been removed.
yes, that's correct.
That was my concern. Okay.
Very good. Council, anything further? I want to commend the planning coordinator for being on top. That was a lot of information. That's very well done. If there's nothing further, council? And a fair bit of work has gone into this housekeeping amendment is quite a lot of detailed work, so thank you very much. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. That brings us to the end of items requiring separate discussion. So we have bylaws.
Sorry, I'm just, the sun is.
Yeah.
I'm just, not that I'm closing up to Jackie, but I just need to.
Councillor Costco was asking your questions. The spotlight was fairly on him.
We need a motion to buy some flowers.
I think there used to be blinds. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There used to be quite elegant
Curtains.
shears, yeah.
Bylaws, are you okay to read the bylaws?
That's certainly it.
Or not?
I can read that from this. There we go. So. No changes, right? But, like, we're still. Oh, okay. Yeah. So through you, Mayor Lawrence and members of council, the following bylaws are being presented for first, second, and third reading and passing. Bylaw number 11-25, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 85-18, being a bylaw to adopt a comprehensive zoning bylaw for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux as amended by adopting zoning bylaw amendment number Z01-2025. Believe it or not, that was the least convoluted way we could describe that particular the bylaw title. So I do apologize for the for that, but it I assure you it accurately reflects what we are trying to, what council is trying to achieve this evening. Bylaw number 15-25 being a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for the Sioux Truth and Reconciliation Committee and to rescind bylaw numbers 106-16, 51-18, and 01-19, and the typo that was noted will be repaired prepared will be fixed before it's circulated for signature and final execution. Bylaw number 21-25, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Emergency Preparedness and Programs Branch at Emergency Management Ontario through the Treasury Board Secretariat, 2024-25 Community Emergency Preparedness Grant. In this case, we have only the province to blame for their very intricate rollout of how the Emergency Preparedness Branch is part of EMO, which is funded and under the control of the Treasury Board Secretariat. That one I can't take responsibility for. They made that convoluted on their own. And finally, bylaw number 22-25, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the municipal accommodation tax agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and the Sioux Chamber of Commerce, and to rescind bylaw number 62-21.
Thank you. The bylaws number 11-25, 15-25, 21-25, and 22-25 be read a first, second, third time and passed. Moved by Councilor Cassidy, seconded by Councilor Timpson. All in favor? Carried.
My apologies, I usually don't editorialize the reading, but couldn't help myself to see it.
Well, I can't help myself but to add to your editorial. I like to turn that part over to you, especially because if the clerk's department writes these things, they should be able to, prove that they can read them. Dear, good. No notice of motion to reconsider outside resolutions. So council reports. Councilor Costco.
This month, I attended a TRC meeting, a regular council meeting. We were able to secure a second cabinet for our little museum project at the airport. So it's at the airport right now. The legs have to be added, which Mr. Sami has agreed to do for us, which we appreciate. The airport staff has been fantastic. And we're going to reach out to the rec center staff who are going to select the items for it. We're just going to trust them because it's very hard for us to select the items from a list. So we're just going to say, what do you think needs to go in there? And we're just going to fill our cabinets. So we'll have 2 cabinets at the airport. And maybe at that point we can have a lunch in there.
Yeah. Councilor Ball.
I had a very quiet month with the exception, after committee adjustment, I was ready to leave the parking lot and it was the CEO's vehicles out there. So we went and had a good chat and I really appreciate Brian always having the open door policy, and we went over a few of the things we've been working on, and yeah, it was a quiet month.
Thank you. Councilor Timpson.
I attended my usual meetings, hospital board, library board, physician recruitment committee, and the environment committee. I'll just mention that tomorrow I'll be at the Kenora District Municipal Association meeting and plan to raise the issue of the housing fund that we were not successful in, but that there was virtually no municipality north of Sault Ste. Marie that got anything. And I'll also be bringing up the issue of immigration because it appears that our town could lose a lot of workers if there isn't some change to the immigration policy that the federal government has laid down. Well, that's it.
Thanks.
I'll report on that next time.
Thank you. Councilor Van Breda.
Also another quiet month. So to repeat, attended the regular council meeting, attended the TRC committee meeting, attended the environmental committee meeting. Also, yeah, we have a new glass cabinet donated by the Friendship Center for the museum at the airport, and I'm excited for that to be filled up too. Which is about it.
Thank you. Councilor Cassidy.
Yeah, for myself, just pretty much Hydro Board and Pace. Again, on the immigration, I know Hydro was impacted as well as our regulatory clerk. Was forced to relocate from Sioux. So Deanne's shouldering a lot right now, just out losing that with some other stuff. But in good news, there was we put an expression of interest forward for the fan upgrades at the substation. And it's deemed to move forward, so we're hoping that that could be funded fully by NRCan as opposed to being downloaded to the rates, so that's really good news, so.
Thank you for that. Councillor Levens.
LCC meeting was supposed to be on the 12th, and they moved it to the 18th for March break, and then they canceled the meeting on the 18th, so. I showed up and the door was locked.
Good job. Usual, KDSB board meeting, health unit board meeting, Sioux Police Detachment board meeting, and had a meeting with the OPP leadership on trends and ways to focus on reducing CF calls for service. Various meetings with the CAO, meeting with the strategic initiatives manager and CAO on an initiative that we're doing, the Q&A initiative that's starting next. Well, it started already, but I think the first public video will be the 28th. And today I attended an AMO webinar along with the CAO on the CAO mayor relationship. And it was good. We may have more to say about that later. That was a month. That brings us to the moving into closed session. And well, there was moving to closed session and take a 5-minute break. So the council moves into closed session at 6:50 PM to discuss matters of a general nature as noted. Subject matter relating to a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, section 239 2K, 2 items, Hillcrest property, Hillcrest project, and community transportation matters. And subject matter relating to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, section 239, item 2C, 1 item, a commercial property on Fifth Avenue. And subject matter relating to personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, section 239 2B, 1 item, CAO performance check-in. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? We are in closed session, returning in 5 minutes.